What's up, everyone? Welcome to Wednesday Night Mythic Conversations. Some surprises tonight. First off, over here, I've got my good friend Curtis with me. Hi, Curtis.
Hey, how's it going?
And look where I am. I'm at Four Horseman Studios tonight. So did not plan on being in New Jersey this evening, but we got some weather back home in Rhode Island, and I was supposed to travel in tomorrow morning. Tonight was going to be a late night doing the show and then early to bed so I could get up super early. But because the weather was coming in, I said, you know what? I'm just going to come in today and I'm going to do the show right from Four Horseman Studios. But the cool thing about that is because I'm here, I have access to lots of cool stuff that I can show you tonight. I have some pop and swap stuff. Joe Vassapolo had to leave this evening. He couldn't join me, but he made sure that he did a bunch of Joe Vassapolo pop and swaps with some of the new retailer wave figures before he left. So I have those to show. So super, super excited about that. We've got a lot of news to go over tonight, right, Curtis?
Absolutely.
So let's start talking about shows. As I mentioned, I'm here in New Jersey because I'm doing ZoloCon this weekend. So for those that may not know, ZoloCon is an event in Warminster, Pennsylvania. It's a 2-day event at a place called the Fuge. It's like a big old like NASA like training center, like a big centrifuge, which obviously is where the name's from. Super cool place. The Horsemen have done the show there for a number of years. And for me, it's kind of special because last year was my first time ever at ZoloCon. And it was actually my first week at Four Horseman Studios. I'm like 1 week away from my actual 1-year anniversary as a full-time employee as the director of sales and marketing. So really excited for this weekend.
So how's year one been, full-time employee?
Oh, it's been absolutely amazing. It's been, it's weird because I was working with the studio part-time for so many years that it's almost like you're taking a job that you're already kind of doing a little bit.
Right.
Clearly my, level of responsibilities expanded. But for me, one of the things that's been really exciting this year is above and beyond the sales and marketing stuff, the amount of creative, design stuff I've been able to work on with the figures in the line has been super, super cool. That's been a lot of fun, both, both figure wise and lore wise and narratively being able to work with Eric to, nail down some of these stories and then help, write a lot of those stories. That's been a really cool thing that I didn't necessarily knew I was going to be doing, but I'm thrilled that I am.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, you guys have been bringing some fire lately, and I just love that you're coming out to all these shows now too. I mean, you just talked about Zolo, but I mean, it seems like the last year or so, you guys have really been ramping up the amount of appearances for sure.
Yeah, we're trying, Curtis. I think we're hitting 10 different states this year. And some of them are, big events like ZoloCon this weekend in Pennsylvania. That's going to be a lot of members of the studio. Cornboy will be there. Eric Treadaway will be there. Jim will be there. I'll be there. Joe Vassapolo, Diego, even Chris is going to promote his D13 toys and his Biblical Adventures line, which I'll talk about in a bit. Bill's going to be there. It's going to be a lot of people. But then there's other shows like what you're going to be doing in a few weeks at MesquiCon, which is a much smaller group, or even like what Walter and Nate are going to be doing out in California in Sacramento at Toy Fusion. So there's different kinds of shows, but really our focus has been a couple of these really, we have 2 flagship shows. We have PowerCon in August and we have Legions Con obviously in November. Those are our two big, you know, flagship huge shows. And then trying to do a bunch of other shows to get out to some different places. You know, Sacramento, first time I think we're going to be out there. Toylanta, first time we're going to be in Atlanta. And even Michigan, this MuskeeCon, that's the first time we're going to be out in Michigan officially. So yeah, we know that it's difficult for fans sometimes to get out to shows. But at the same time, it's difficult for us to bring the whole traveling road show out really, really far. So hopefully what we can do is go to more shows and do a little something and make a show like Legions Con so valuable that people will want to travel for it.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about the, you know, the other shows that you guys are going to, and then the PowerCon last year. I heard Eric kind of talking about it yesterday on Legion's Lair, but you know, you guys were like superstars of that show. Like, I mean, when in the past, you know, with it, in California, you know, you really would just have the debut figures, but you know, since it was close enough, you guys could bring more. You know, you really brought a lot of people to that show, and so it's interesting to see, you know, over the course of just 1 year, you know, them moving that location, how big of a presence you guys had at that show.
It was incredible. It was so unexpected that it was going to be that kind of outpouring, you know, to have, you know, when the doors opened at 2:00 that Friday and the fans poured in and just the line by our table just stretched, and 2 hours into it, we had sold all the allocation for the entire day. Yeah, it blew us away. It was absolutely incredible. And we're looking to have a bigger presence this year. Obviously the PowerCon exclusive Demistros figure, that's super cool as well. The fact that we're going to be able to not only do our normal PowerCon debut figures, but to be able to also do an additional figure that's going to be offered by PowerCon. That's showing, you know, how we're committed to that show.
Yeah, and I think even, you know, something like the MuskeeCon, you know, I understand you guys aren't going to have like the full, you know, table that you would normally have at a closer show. But for somebody that's living in Michigan, it may be their only chance to, you know, see the Horsemen. So it's just cool that you guys are getting out there and, you know, making it available to more people. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And from a fan standpoint, you know, I'll tell you, when fans go out to shows like this, if we get a really good turnout, it encourages us to do more like it. It encourages us to either, whether it's go back, you know, our plan is to have those marquee shows, to have shows that we do. I mean, look, we're an East Coast company. We're here in New Jersey. We're always going to be more focused on shows in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and so forth, because it's easy for us to get there. You know, doing a show that's across the country or halfway across the country, when you have to add, you know, an extra day or two of travel time either way, that has an impact on everything. But when we go out to these shows and we see the fans comes out, it really encourages us that we're doing the right thing and we should continue doing it.
Well, that's great.
So, Curtis, you just mentioned MuskeeCon a little bit. This is a show that I regrettably will not be at. I very much wanted to go, but I'm not able to make it. But you are going to be there. So tell us a little bit about MuskeeCon and what you're going to be doing there.
I'll be actually helping to run the Wolf King Customs table. I'll be there with Steven. I know he's been working very hard to try to get a bunch of painted heads for MuskeeCon. You know, obviously he wants to show well. You know, there's people are coming to his town, and he wants to, you know, make sure that he has stuff available. So he'll be doing a lot of that, and I'll be kind of running the other sales for unpainted parts. And just excited to see people come out. You know, it's one of those where, you know, Legions Con is still the big show, and that's where, you know, we all kind of get together as a family, you know, but it's good to have this other kind of shows throughout the year where, you know, some of us can get together and you get a little bit of that fix. So you don't have to wait a full 12 months to, you know, see everybody again.
Yeah. Those regional shows are a really great way for us to, are you heading out?
Everyone got it?
Everyone's gone. It's just you and me, Sherry.
Okay. Yeah.
I closed it, but if you need to go out there, just, it'll shut behind you.
No.
Okay.
All good. All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Sherry. Uh, so yeah, getting out to these regional shows is great because you're right. It does allow us to get a different group. It allows us to do something in that space between each Legions Con. So it's an important part of the plan. And like I said, get out to these shows. If you can travel, coming out to Legions Con, you hear the people that year in and year out are like, there's no way that I'm going to miss it. This is where I want to be. That's the epicenter. That's where everything is going. We've worked really hard to, have a great experience, a great new hotel. The Legions Con exclusive figures this year are going to blow people away. I cannot wait. Hopefully going to be revealing those probably within the next few months. So really excited for that.
That's awesome. I saw Greg last night was saying that he still loves Christmas, but Legion's Con is his new favorite holiday.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's going to be, and I think that for people like for yourself, people that have that anticipation that went this year and had so much anticipation, and then it more than lived up to that, the hype, and you had so much fun. I think that you're going to have even more excitement and butterflies as the lead up to this year, wanting it to all be, as good again.
And it's amazing that you go into a place like that with that many people and everybody's just awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's, I was back in, was it 2021? I didn't make it to Legion's Con, and a lot of it was just fear and anxiety of traveling and different things. And but then I went last year, and I'll never miss another Legion's Con. Like it's just one of those things where you get there and you don't have to worry about any of that stuff because everybody's so nice and welcoming that it's like you're around family.
100%. Family reunion.
Yeah.
So someone was asking earlier, it might have been Star. Yeah. What year did Mythic Legions first come out? And it's already gotten this massive. So the original Kickstarter was in 2015. We kind of here at the studio say that 2014 is when Mythic Legions first started, because a little history lesson, the first time Mythic Legions, that name was ever really shown, was at a toy event in New York called Toypocalypse. So it was kind of like a art show, toy show type thing that Four Horsemen Studios did. And there's articles about Toypocalypse on sourcehorseman.com. But it was a show where this was when the figures were first shown. Now, back then, the figures were meant to be a 4-inch line, right? But because they were sculpted as 2-ups, they were kind of like 8-inch figures. So they were actually a little bit bigger than the Mythic Legions we see today. They weren't meant to be named characters. They were just meant to be like designs. If you look at the original photos from Toypocalypse, you can see that Gorgo is there, Sir Gideon is there, Sir Galeron is there, but they didn't have those names. They weren't meant to be characters, but people liked the configuration so much, they ended up becoming characters in the line at the Kickstarter that went live in 2015. So that's a little background there. 2015 is when it really debuted in a big way to the public, when we were first able to start backing it. But 2014 was when it first started, which means, if you do the math, that next year is the 10th anniversary of Mythic Legions.
Interesting.
Also
so next,
go ahead. It
I was
also
just going
to be the 25th year of Four Horsemen Studios.
So just to sum up, so it's the 25th year of Four Horsemen, 10th year of Mythic Legion, and the year of the dragon.
Oh,
so interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm drawing some conclusions. Obviously, I have no inside knowledge, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. But quick question: the Toypocalypse pictures that you were talking about, are those on Source Horseman?
They are.
Somebody want to look at it?
They are. There's a couple blog articles on Source Horseman that actually cover the Toypocalypse stuff. I mean, if you just Google Four Horsemen Toypocalypse, it'll probably at this point bring you right to that article, since that's the most relevant stuff on there. But it was a cool thing. It was actually one of the things they did for Toypocalypse was they printed out, not printed, actually, they sculpted, they cast and mold versions of the Mythic Legion's parts, and they gave them to a bunch of different artists and asked them to do an interpretation of a Mythic Legion's figure. And if you look at them, there's one that like the guts are all hanging out. It's a zombie, and it was actually done by a gentleman named George Gaspar, who we all now know is George. There's one done by Nate Barch. There's one done by Sherry, our lead painter here. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's definitely interesting to go back and look at that and see some of those names, some of whom were not actually working full time with the studio then, but were friends.
That's awesome.
So upcoming events, obviously you can go to sourcehorseman.com/events and see everything we have coming up. But let's transition a little bit. This week, the Mythic Legions community and the Cabal has been, as some would say, test shot drunk. Let's talk about that. So 3 weeks solid of test shot sales culminating in the Cosmic Legions test shots. And that is what a lot of people are buzzing about. No pun intended with those Sphexians. Now, Curtis, you, I believe, were able to get a couple test shots in this sale. I know that because I've seen a lot of photos you've been taking. Who did you end up scoring?
Well, the first week of test shots, I totally blanked and missed the sale. I forgot all about it. The second week, my wife was on this computer that I'm at, and I was on my laptop, and she was just a little slow because she had never done it before, and I had the wrong PIN number on my credit card, so we struck out the second week. Third week was Cosmic, and we both got one. She got Ziri, and I ended up getting the Sentry, which is the one I really wanted. I ended up getting a 12-pack of the Sentries, and I'm just so excited for that figure. So getting a test shot of it was amazing, and I've just been popping every Wolf King head that I can think of on it just to see what they all look like. And I'll tell you something that I was kind of surprised with, and Len was too.
Yeah,
a lot of the gnome heads really look good on the Sentry.
Yeah, I know they do look good.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but something about the size of them makes them look pretty good. So
unleash the gnomes, right?
There it is.
I got to take a picture of it, but the spider head that you put on one of them, that on the Sphexian is really cool as well, because obviously it's got that insect look, but yeah, very, very cool. So playing with the Cosmic test shots, obviously so many people are excited about this because this is their first impression of Cosmic Legions. What are your thoughts on and you got two different kinds. You got the Ziri, which admittedly is less of a brand new build because the Ziri body does use, actually, I'm trying to think about it.
It's got the same bare arms and legs like you would have like on a Urxa or Hera.
Everything
obviously
else,
the gauntlets and everything else is new.
Within the Sentry is head to toe brand new parts.
Yeah, and then she's got the two head sculpts that are both beautiful. I think the thing, she's got a great overall look, but I think she's one of those figures that the biggest part of it I think is the soft goods. That like poncho thing or whatever that she's got, especially if you got her with the dual wielding the two guns, like it's just such a gunslinger cool look about her. And then she's got that big gun, the rifle or whatever that has the strap that you can put around her. Like it's just very cool. And then the Sentry, I mean, I've been in love with the Sentry since it originally showed, and I'm even more so now. I'm just super stoked to get it, and I can't wait to get into my 12-pack of them and start playing around. So the only regret that I have is that I didn't go for the 24-pack. That's the only regret. Like I was so debating on that whether I should do 12 or 24, and I wish I would have gone to 24.
Well, I will tell you that I know you want to build out your Tusk army, but don't worry. Save some room in that Tusk army because I feel like we haven't seen all the ranks of that affiliation just yet.
That's cool.
The Tusk Sentry of all the Tusk soldiers with the secondary heads, that one is my favorite of the heads.
Yeah, both heads are cool. I do like the more alien head than the robotic kind of looking one. But yeah, they're both cool.
Yeah, I like those are both great figures. So playing with them, that's been great. It's interesting because I know that test shots are a funny thing because test shots are part of the production process. But for a lot of the figures that we do test shots of, they're using parts that we've already worked out all the problems with. So those test shots they're essentially the same thing as the regular figures, just not painted. What's really interesting with these test shots is those pieces you're getting, they're not finalized. Like
Mhm.
there's still bugs we are working out of these. So these particular test shots are very much a part of the process. They are very much still what was coming out while we were approving this. I have a Sphexian block commander. The Sphexian, there's a number of challenges with the test shot. The arms tend to pop out very
Mhm.
easily. The hips on mine are a little loose and floppy. Those are all things that were already identified, that are already being tightened up and already being fixed. So it is interesting to be able to have this and know that, okay, this is still not a final product. This
Yeah.
is a slice of the development process. The Thygar grave ring is an important one. The way they did the neck is not correct. There's more of a gap than there was supposed to be. So that's something we're fixing and tightening up before the final production. So it is absolutely interesting to have those in hand and see those type of impressions. But even with some of those warts that are out there, what I have seen is the reaction so far has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, I said it. I think a couple weeks ago, but it was about a week or two ago. I just kind of had this moment where I go, I'm more excited about cosmic reveals this year than Mythic, and I never thought I'd say that. Like, I'm a huge Mythic fan, but I'm so looking forward to what other cosmics we're going to get this year. And the test shot just made it even more so. Um, so and then the huge part for us too, obviously working with Wolf King Customs is getting our hands on these things and starting to see what these things can do and what the parts look like and breaking them apart and gently and with warm water and everything, but just seeing what things um we could kind of modify and do things with. So it's been really fun for sure.
Yeah, they're what I will say to the fans is I know everyone is excited for these to finally get in their hands. There is literally no one that wants these in fans' hands more than the members of this studio. We
Mhm.
are clamoring to get these out so people can start playing with them. The first Cosmic Wave was solicited. We debuted it at PowerCon in 2021, but we had been living with it for a lot longer before that. So for
Mhm.
us, the build up to this is even more. There's so much that we've held back. We frankly changed some of our cosmic plans for 2022 because of the things we wanted to make sure were lining up a certain way for us to be able to release stuff. So we are very excited. I think I've said before that, I feel like 2023, I know 2023 is the year that you're really going to see the studio balancing Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and Figure Obscura. I'm very excited for our rollout plan this year and cannot wait for fans to see what is coming for Cosmic Legions.
Yeah, and I mean it's the beginning of a new line, and I'm sure that there are people that never got into Mythics and have no interest in Mythics that are getting in for
Yep.
Cosmic, and you want it to be the right way when you get
Yep.
it to them, and that's something that I appreciate that you guys do your due diligence to make sure that these things have good quality standards. And there's plenty of other manufacturers out there where you order a certain thing, you get a look from the prototype, and then you get the final product and it doesn't really match your expectations.
Yeah.
I've never had that with you guys, so I appreciate that you're doing that extra work.
Well,
So
we appreciate that.
if,
I mean,
if it takes a little longer to get them but they're perfect, then I'm good.
and look, I mean, perfection is what we strive for, but we know that things happen, but we do our best to make sure that the products that come out are what fans are expecting and what they're hoping for. And the fact that we hear as many people say, you know, when people say the photos didn't do it justice, they're not knocking the photos. They're saying how wonderful the figures are. So
there's just a certain magic when you get these things in your hands that the
100%.
photo, no matter how good the photo is, it can't give you that magic of having it in your hand.
And that's going to be exciting at Legions Con this year, being able to see the mix of Mythic and Cosmic. We saw a little bit of it last year. You know, I had brought my Cosmic customs and I displayed those at the Wolf King table. I know that Anthony from Noble Bear had a really cool Cosmic kit out on his table. But there wasn't a lot of other Cosmic stuff out and about. So this Legions Con is going to be cool to really see that mix of those, you know, those two different lines or three different lines if you count Figure Obscura as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Okay, so that's what's going on with those test shots. You know, super excited for everyone that was able to grab those. Also, thank you to everyone that supported the studio and the store these last 4 weeks. We also had this past week the sale for the standard Furious 4 figures and the unknown one. As of right now, the Bushati Pelvicus figure is sold out. There will be some of those, Curtis, at MuskeeCon. We couldn't do MuskeeCon without sending some of the 4 there to represent. So those figures will be there. But additionally, we do still have some of the Pitorion Uwit and some of the unknown one figures on the website. I have seen a number of people asking how long we're going to keep those up. I'm not sure yet. There is going to be a point that we pull them down. Even if they're not sold out, we will pull them down and we will just move that into show inventory or something. The reason is there's a lot of other stuff happening. You know, when those orders come in, our shipping team, we had a whole crew in here today shipping out those orders. But very, very soon, All-Stars 5 is going to be arriving, and we need to completely shift our attention to be focusing on All-Stars 5, as well as those replacement troll heads. So if you've been waiting for that Furious 4 figure that remains and that unknown one, don't wait too longer because there's going to be a point where those come down.
Speaking of All-Stars, isn't it about time for us to start seeing some campaign posters and things like that in the Cabal?
So people think that, but we've literally never said this is when the All-Stars voting happens. Now, it did happen around this time last year. But we've never said when All-Stars voting happens. And we do like to change things up to keep people on their toes. So
that's true.
All I will say is we know when All-Stars voting will happen. And when we are ready for everyone else to know, you certainly will.
Beautiful.
Do you like the All-Stars voting time? I know it's a fairly overwhelming time of the year in the Cabal with all of the vote posters.
I love it. I think, you know, it's all in good fun. You know, it's an exciting time in the Cabal, and I just love the way that you guys did it last year. It was a good mix of, you know, old stuff for people that mixed it before. Yep. You had a lot of new stuff in there. I love the way that you guys did the reveals. You know, it was very slow roll, and you got a chance to really appreciate each figure. Kind of similar how I know we're going to talk about it tonight, you know, this retailer wave, you know, it wasn't just all at once and overwhelming, but you got a chance to appreciate each one that came out, each reveal.
That was an interesting thing that we heard. So, little spoiler, when we do All-Star 6 this year, it will include some new characters. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. We were very vocal in how successful last year's was and how much people liked it. And we said, yeah, we're going to do that again. We also said at the end of the Necronominus reveals that, yeah, we're going to extend this into All-Star 6. We had too much stuff to get in here. That all being said, because of what we need to introduce in the new wave, it's not going to be something we do through fan reveals like we did last year. We do have some ideas about how we can do that again, but we're going to do something a little bit different. But we do like the fact that we like the idea of experimenting with rolling out these things in different ways. You're going to see this year us taking some different approaches to how we roll things out. We love the big reveal specials. We're still going to do G-Con. Going to have a blast with that this year, but we've got some other stuff in mind as well that I think fans are going to like. And one of the things we definitely heard was that slow burn type thing. We got to see a little bit of that with the retailer wave. Frankly, we ended up speeding up the reveals on the retailer wave because someone leaked some of our pictures like they weren't supposed to. But all's well that ends well. We sped it up a little bit. That just meant that the fans got a more condensed burst of awesome.
Yeah, I still like that reveal style, but having the reveal specials is nice too. I know you guys did another one last year, earlier in the year, when you did the second Cosmic Wave.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you had like an intern event around that.
That was April,
I know you can't really reveal like what plans you guys got going on, but do you think that that's a possibility in the future that we might have a mid-year intern, or is it really just going to be around the Legion Con time?
I think we're just going to do the one a year. The reason we did 2 last year was the one in April that we tied into the Grave Knight reveals. That was part of the Kickstarter, the Mythic Legion's Tactics rewards. When we had done the first one, we did it on a Thursday. It was before Legions Con 2021. And we had some backers who were like, I can't come in on a Thursday for this. So we said, okay, well, we'll do a second one and we'll do it on a Saturday. So that April one was to honor that request and get those done. But to do 2 a year, it actually takes a lot out of us here at the studio. It's a total stoppage of normal work to prepare for that and present that and do everything and play host for that period. So I think it's going to work better going forward as a once a year thing tied into the whole Mythic weekend festivities.
Gotcha.
So you mentioned the retailer wave a few times, and I talked about it and everything. That was obviously a big piece of news from the last week and a half, or just over a week now, I guess. It wasn't revealed last week when I started my show. On Friday of last week, we revealed the spectral green Headless Horseman. Did you get a chance to check out the reveal special? Not the reveal special, the 4:00 show today where they were showing those figures?
No, I was actually stuck in a tornado shelter today at work. So I was not able to catch it. So
was there a tornado, or is everyone okay?
There was one that was like about 60 miles away. It touched down for a quick second and then went back up. And
wow.
But we were stuck in there for like an hour and a half.
So tell you what, I'm going to go off camera for 1 second, Curtis, which I'm sure you can run the show in my absence, right? You being top dog over there. I'm going to go put something. I've got a cam over here. I'm going to go put something over here because I've got a couple different figures that I want to show people.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we got some comments here. I've got Joe Vassapolo says the leaguer should be licked by a Hellfire Goblin as punishment. Let's see. Billy says, Joe, they might be into that. Mark Halseal, can't wait to get some bandana time this weekend.
Okay.
So look at this.
Yeah. So I've got a couple figures here.
That's a cool look.
Move this around.
Nice comparison.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you can really see on the side by side how much you guys dialed up that purple.
Yeah. So, that's an important part here, I think, is the photos that Trevor took because of the just, darker nature of it. You couldn't tell, some of the purple color that was actually on this new figure. It's, even here on camera, it's not as dramatic, but that's one of the things is, obviously his cravat there, that's a, different color purple, but his torso, his gloves and his boots, those are all more of a purple type leather. So it does have a very different look in hand than the original. And certainly if you're going to be doing any popping and swapping, these introduce some different colors for those parts into the line.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm assuming that it comes with like the hand with the ball joint so that he
Oh
can hold
yeah,
the head and everything too.
this particular one comes with all the parts in the original. So you get the hand, with the ball joint to hold the pumpkin, the severed neck. You get all those pieces, but you get, like, I wanted to show that here because that purple is a very different look that I think is something new on this.
Looks like Billy's asking here, is the neck stump, is it the same color or is it different?
Now the neck stump looks to be the same,
Okay.
but the horse itself is a bit different. Let me see if I can get him in camera here.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
So one of the things that you didn't see as much on the pictures that Chris showed off today is the lower legs here. There's a lot of green actually in those lower legs that you don't see as much in the photos. So the original horse had a lot of red highlights in those lower legs. This one, when people saw it, some people thought that it was only like the green hooves, but you actually get that mane that's got some greenish highlights in it, the fur on the hair on the legs. So it does actually read a bit different and certainly more like kind of spectral.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a glow effect to it. Kind of like they had you break out your testers and do some dry brushing.
I mean, this, so with the figure Obscura, we've started to now establish this pattern where, we're going to drop a version of it on Store Horseman. Surprise drop, we the level of excitement that builds is something that we really enjoy, and it seems like a lot of members of the community enjoy as well. But then, because it is an in-stock drop, it's not available to retailers. It's not a pre-order item. Being able to do a secondary version for those retailers is pretty important as well. So it's one of the things that we are thinking about when we do these figures is, what would a second figure look like? So, the spectral green flames were something that we had talked about right from the beginning. And you almost have to decide, what do you do for the first one? What do you do for the second one?
Right.
The actual, orange flames felt like us to be more of an iconic look. So that's why we did that with the original. But they're both super cool. There's a lot of people that seem to like this one as much, if not more, than the first one.
Yeah, I prefer this one.
You
To be
prefer this
honest,
one,
like, yeah, I'm a World of Warcraft player for many years, and
Okay.
the Headless Horseman in that game is more of this, neon glow in the dark green look. The only thing I'll probably do is I'll probably still use the cloak from the first one.
The first
But
one.
use this figure and this horse.
I happen to have the cloak from the first one here.
And the new cloak is great too. I'm not a huge orange fan.
Sure.
So
Sure.
but yeah, I love that horse. I think it's amazing. Yeah, it's just like perfect in my opinion. That's what I was hoping for in a retail release. And I think out of all the things that you guys have shown for the retail, that's cool. Out of all the things that you guys have shown for the retail wave, to me, this is the most important, because I think this figure caught a lot of people by surprise last year, that weren't tied into our community. Like, we know when you guys, go to do one of these figure Obscura drops, we typically have like 24-hour notice or whatever, and we can jump in and get it. But I think there were a lot of people in the toy community that aren't necessarily tied into Mythic Legions that missed out on this. And then, you see all the, everybody ranking their figures for the year, and this is like figure of the year for a lot of people.
Yep.
But it's now not available. So having this available for the retailers is so important, just to bring more people into the line. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, this was an ultra popular figure. Obviously, whenever we do an in-stock item, we've got to think, how many do we actually order? Because look, our business is not to warehouse toys forever. We want to make toys and sell toys. So when we do the pre-orders, it's not a problem because we make to order. We know what people want. We can make those orders. But when the in-stock stuff, this is something we're trying to do. For years, we didn't sell anything as in-stock items. So now if you look at the number of in-stock items that we're doing, it's a lot more significant. So that's a bit of a change for us, but we've got to be smart. We've got to make sure we don't overdo it. We didn't know, what the reaction to this was going to be. It's an expensive set, with the horse and the figure. Clearly it ended up being incredibly popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
So someone's asking how the orange contrasts with, unfortunately, I do not have a Bardrick around here anywhere that I can just grab. I'm looking on the thing behind me. And I don't have a Thygar with the orange pants around either. I thought I saw one earlier.
I think you don't have them because I saw Eric with it at his house last night. Let's see what else we got.
So I did remember where there was a Thygar.
Oh, there you go.
And here's the soft goods cape.
Let's see what we got.
So I saw someone earlier say Jeremy doing LBCs with unreleased figures. Let's have Jeremy do an LBC.
I never really thought of Thygar as having a cape, but this
head won't come off. This head is actually glued on, but I'll just put it there like that.
Damn, that looks pretty good, actually.
Yeah, entering the arena, right? And he's just like,
yeah. I wouldn't have thought about putting a cape on Thygar, but I might have to steal that from the new Headless Horseman and put that on him.
Everyone's like, now I need an extra Headless Horseman to give Thygar a cape.
I just figured out what I'm doing with my cape.
So that's actually not around the neck.
Right.
That's kind of resting on his shoulders, but because of the way it is, it's kind of held there.
I think that's a winner, Jeremy.
That looks good, right? That looks good. So check this out. The Father Christmas figure that we showed off with the new green robes, that comes with the two surprise heads, right?
Yep.
But those heads aren't a surprise anymore. So I know some people were asking what the colors are. Unfortunately, I don't have the elf with me. The elf, there's two versions. So another little back behind the scenes. When we paint prototypes, we paint two of every single prototype. We send one to China, and we keep one here as our master. So when they send us the paint masters that they did at the studio, we can match them to the originals that we painted. Right now, one of those elf builders is the Elite Elven Guard. That is in China, and the other one is actually with Trevor. Trevor has it because he finished photography recently. We haven't got it back yet. So I don't have that one for pop and swaps, but I do have some of the helmets. And Joe Vassopolo put this helmet onto a Magnus body so fans could see what that looks like.
Now I'm assuming that the Elven body, I know it looks the same as the Magnus or similar. Have you compared the two colors? Are they pretty much identical?
So I asked Joe this exact question today, and he said that the new elf is a little shinier, but you'd have to really, if you put the parts together, you'd have to really be looking closely to know the difference, and you'd have to be nitpicking.
Gotcha.
Like they are close enough that they work together totally fine.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
And one of the things that we have the benefit of here at the studio is we can release things that go on figures that don't exist yet, but we know are coming. So always keep that in mind as well. That's one of the cool things that I will say about having people like Joe Vassopolo working here at Four Horseman Studios is, as an incredible fan of the line, as a customizer, he makes suggestions that may not have been considered in past years, specifically because of that pop and swap ability. So, painting these helmets, the colors that we did are because we look at what exists and we look at what's coming out, and we're like, hey, we know that these things will work, whether the payoff is immediate or whether there's going to be a payoff in the future on it.
Right. That's really cool.
Joe says that helmet can go on one other thing. Joe, I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't show that today. I can show this though. So this is the new, I believe it's called, is that the Hound's Head helmet? That is the other special head that comes in the Father Christmas pack, and that is just on a Black Knight Legion builder. So that shiny black glossy type look works perfectly with that figure.
Yeah, that's really cool too. It's like an identical match.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's, you know, that's intentional to be able to get that match like that. So Brian asking if the gold helmet can go on Gwendolyn. Yes, you would just have to use that neck adapter that actually comes with Father Christmas, that one to go from the 2.0 neck to the 1.0 ball. Although Joe is saying they're a different gold. Yeah, they are a different gold, actually. You could put it on, but so that's kind of cool there. You know, one thing we haven't shown yet? Let me grab this.
What's that? Star, with gold prices the way they are, what would be the estimated value of that armor? It'd be a lot. It'd be super expensive.
With the new brown head, but we actually didn't take any pictures of him with his white head on. So that's kind of cool as well.
Yeah, that's nice. Those robes are fabulous.
The robes are great. I love the robes. I mean, but even something like that new brown head, I remember painting that other Father Christmas head with the brown beard, and I loved how it looked so much. So when we were planning this one out, we were like, well, you know, let's change up the different toys. Let's change up this. Let's change up that. So that suggestion to do, you know, one of the heads still in white to get that classic, you know, Santa look, but then to do the other one in brown, that made a lot of sense as well.
Yeah, I like the brown one. Really, it adds a little something different.
And you know why this is my favorite in the new wave, right?
I do not. I heard there was something with the duck. Eric was saying that there's some sort of callback to the duck.
Here's the duck. So the repaint of the toys, the duck here is a white duck, and he's got a little tiny scar over his eye. That is actually a reference to the Minotaur the Duck figure from the Gothtropolis wave. So that's kind of like a real old school type, you know, look back there. And Zombie was actually, the Zombie's in the chat right now. Zombie saying, yes. Zombie, he pointed that out, and I was so thrilled that he pointed that out. If you've never heard of Minotaur the Duck, there's an article about that character on our website as well. And it's just a really funny story about how that character came to be. But that's something that predates Mythic Legions by a number of years. So to be able to add him to the figure was super fun. But that's not why it's my favorite.
Okay, why is it your favorite? There you go.
He comes with Kickapoo. He comes with a little kitsune. So people may look at that and say, oh, Jeremy convinced them to paint the little dog like a fox. That wasn't even my idea. Eric actually was like, yeah, we could paint the dog like a fox. And I was like, oh. I'd like to think he did it for me specifically, that's Eric's little love letter to me and Kickapoo. That's what I'm going to say in my heart, but it wasn't my suggestion, but I'm absolutely thrilled that we get little Kickapoo as one of Santa's toys.
That's awesome. Is the Nutcracker a different paint scheme too, or is that the same as the original?
Yeah, this doll, the Nutcracker that's on the actual bag is the same, but this doll is a different well. The drum is green instead of red. The horn is silver instead of gold. Almost everything is different. And actually, the underbody, the robe underneath is blue. And one of the things that we showed recently was the body underneath this figure, that was a really cool thing that when we were planning out what the colors would be, Joe made some suggestions. And because his body is totally covered by these robes, you never see what's under it. Joe was like, why don't we use that body as an opportunity to do something different and cool? And he had the upper arms. He suggested the upper arms be painted that whisperling green. Okay. So on that first Father Christmas with the brown arms, after the fact, it became, people realized that that was a great match for either Gadriel, the angel, or for the dark-skinned elf legion builder. Using those arms with that darker complexion elf, great match. Joe wanted to do something similar. So what I'm going to show here is those arms from the new Father Christmas. This is actually on the elf body from one of the Tactics builder packs with the bonus head.
Now, Tactics builder pack, is that something new? It's been many years since I've heard that.
But look how cool that is.
That is pretty awesome.
So that particular head, that is the head was originally came with Malachi Cinderhorn. That head was repainted Whisperling green. That particular head is only available in the bonus packages. So the Forge Founder ones that came out came with that particular head as a bonus. So you can use that, but that builder pack has a second Whisperling head as well. A whole bag of parts here. So these figures from Mythic Legion's Tactics, War of the Aetherblade, I believe these are, if they're not actually in the United States yet, they are about to arrive. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. That's the look right there.
Now, that head is included with all of them. That is one of the heads that actually comes in the pack.
Do they have pauldrons that match that helmet?
Silver like that?
Yeah.
They are. So I have two different sets of pauldrons in this set. I've got these like shiny green ones, and I've got these silver ones. So if I do the silver ones,
or do one of each.
You want to do one of each just to see what it looks like?
Yeah.
I like the green better, but I like those pauldrons better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, those are going to be cool.
Those are going to be cool. I like
Dang
those a lot.
Jeremy, I didn't want to buy a bunch of extra Father Christmases, but now I might have to.
When you said earlier, when you were like, I don't think I need another Father Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, okay, challenge accepted. Oh yeah, this. Oh, look at that. Oh, whoops, dropped it. Put it back in.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the green pauldron, but the other one that matches the helmet is nice too.
So I'll put. Yeah, people I think are going to love these and the 2-pack. I mean, but
That's
that
awesome.
head too, like that.
Yeah. So just that look on the one that you've got there in the picture, like, you know, give them like a spear or something and stand guard. That's a perfect elf guard.
Now, one thing that Joe wanted me to point out as well is here's another head that comes in the package. You know, this has got the dark complexion. Every one of the heads that comes with this set has a neck that goes with it. So if you buy that Father Christmas and you use one of these heads on the body or something, you will have that extra neck that a lot of people want, that 2.0 to 1.0.
Right.
You'll actually be able to have that.
So on the Tactics one, if it comes with, like, because I think like the male orc has like 4 heads. You're saying it comes with 4 necks?
That's what Joe said. Joe said that every head comes with a neck.
Wow.
I don't know if it's every. I don't. It might just be this one, the elf one, but he said that's what he told me. So this one here, this is the Santa body, the new Father Christmas body. Because we popped the Father Christmas arms off for this one, That's got the arms from the elf builder on it, and that's one of the elf builder heads on it.
You're killing me, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Now
so
I can. So now I can use the arms on one figure and the body on another.
and I mean, this body like this obviously needs some paint, but that's
Oh
fine.
yeah, I mean you do like the
Yeah.
rivets and stuff on the chest, and
Start with
yeah.
the dots. Start with the
Yeah.
dots, Jeremy says, right?
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I know. I mean, those sets are going to be a ton of fun. So he even did this. He if you use the Father Christmas body like this, I said, you end up with that extra head, that extra neck, that 2.0 to 1.0 neck. So he put like this together. You can do something like that where, he's just got a thump body here, but because that head, that Goblin Legion Builder head is a 1.0, even just having the adapter for something like that opens up some possibilities.
Man, I know you're pretty good at marketing, but Joe's Pop and Swaps may sell more people on figures than anything else.
It is a team effort. This is the one that I love. I mean, that's that one right there. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, that one's cool.
Joe's got a knack for this stuff for sure.
Man, that's good.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm going to go back and check some of the questions here. Does anyone have any questions about the stuff we're looking at? So I will say this. I've shown Father Christmas and I've shown Headless Horseman. I don't have the blue Hagnon or the elf here. What I will tell people to just clear up maybe any confusion, the elf does come with a removable helmet. So that is a totally separate piece that pops off. That helmet also fits on the orc. So you can actually put that on the orc. I don't have a picture of that. Once we get the prototypes back from Trevor, we're going to get a bunch of pictures snapped so we can share all of those. But that's definitely a cool thing to do. The gold on the new elf builder, like I said, it's a little shinier than Magnus, but it's close enough that it definitely would work. Blue Hagnon, the color of Blue Hagnon is different than the color of the ghost parts in the Undead Builder Pack. The blue is actually closer to that like smoky type stuff that comes up off one of the heads. You can totally pop those together. If you pop that head on Blue Hagnon, the actual skull part's a little bit different color, but it's close enough. If you're messing around with these things, even if you took like Blue Hagnon's armor and used it with the clear parts on that builder pack, it would totally work. You can do some very, very cool things there. I was talking to Chris today. The plan 100% is to make those clear ghostly parts in the builder pack glow in the dark. So you'll be able to get that glow across the entire figure.
So I get the Headless Horseman and the Father Christmas because we saw the regular version and now we're getting the retail version.
Yep.
The elf makes sense to me because, it's kind of a holiday thing. It fits right in. Can you talk about the decision to include the blue Hagnon on this retailer wave?
So, yeah, that's a great question. Blue Hagnon is like a legend in the Legions community, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those that don't know, when we first did the Hagnon figure back in the Advent of Decay wave, one of the ideas was, okay, let's make it glow. Let's make half the run glow green and half glow blue. And people won't know what they have until they turn off the lights. And then it will encourage people to like trade, I get an extra blue. Do you have a green and stuff? We had lofty expectations for what would happen there, and it ended up just being confusing at the factory level what we wanted. So we ended up just saying, let's just make it glow green. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, All-Stars voting, and Hagnon was in the vote, and someone said, hey, if Hagnon wins, will he glow green or will you actually do the blue? And Coin Boy said, yeah, we'll make him glow blue. So that's how Blue Hagnon got started. Then it became a whole thing because the only Hagnon that exists that actually glows blue is in Chris's collection. So Chris started lording over everybody that he has the only blue Hagnon. Cullen Culp became like obsessed with promoting vote blue Hagnon, vote blue Hagnon. So that's why it became legendary. Here's the thing. He came close to getting into All-Stars, but he wasn't really that close. He still had a lot of ground to make up. He's one of these kind of figures that a lot of fans want, and we'd love to get him out there, but he's probably never going to get into an all-stars vote. So something like the retailer wave was a perfect opportunity for us to do a figure that is unlikely to get voted into all-stars, and we're not going to waste a slot in another wave for that figure to put him in there. It's a perfect example. And I say that because the retailer only wave, yes, the figures, the Hagnon is $49.99 as opposed to what would be $37 from us. And I saw some people commenting that, oh, I wish these were available direct so it would be a little bit cheaper. And I replied with, well, buying direct isn't cheaper for everybody, especially international customers. Buying it from their local retailers actually is cheaper for them. So we try to keep that in mind. But the other part is this isn't direct versus not direct. This is not direct versus doesn't exist. So you think about it that way, is the retailer wave is a great opportunity for us to say thank you to those retailers, get something out there that's cool that we frankly don't have another slot to do. We don't want to just do like reissues and repaints of figures. That's why All-Stars became All-Stars Plus, so we could get new stuff in there. So that was the decision, to do something fun, do something that fans wanted, that we thought would be enjoyable, but is something we never would be able to squeeze into a mainline wave.
Gotcha. So one more question for you.
Yeah.
So I know Headless Horseman is figure Obscura.
Yep.
Father Christmas is figure Obscura.
Yep.
Now we've got this elf. Is this thing going to have a Mythic bio, a figure Obscura bio? And then second question, part of that question is, this Hagnon, is it the same Hagnon? Does he have a different story? So those are my two that I've got for you.
Elf is definitely Mythic Legions.
Okay.
100%. Hagnon, I will write a new story for Hagnon, because there's no way that I would be cheap enough to just want us to slap that same old bio. He has become such an icon that I have to write a fun story that expands him a little bit, and explains why he's now blue.
That's awesome, because if it was the same bio, then I would think that I would only need one on display. But now that it's got a different bio, I'll have to have two. So
we've got to do something fun with that. We've absolutely have to, But yeah, no, figure Obscura. We have a very specific idea of what Figura Obscura is. You've already seen us drawing from mythology, like myth, and Krampus is very much it's a holiday themed character, but it's very much folklore and myth and stuff like that. Obviously the Headless Horseman is from classic literature. Father Christmas is from classic folklore and holiday. So there's a lot of things we've said all along, that mythology, literature, folklore, legends, cryptozoology. There's so many different kinds of cool things that could be in Figura Obscura, but we really want it to be not just like, oh, here's a cool elf. We want it to, or here's a leprechaun. We want it to be classic, iconic characters that we can do and take our spin on a bit.
That makes sense.
Checking out the comments here. Santa's red coat plus blue Hagnon equals Ghost of Christmas Present. A lot of people pointed out that the new Santa reminded them of Ghost of Christmas Present. Ghost of Christmas Present is usually from Christmas Carol, is usually presented as a much larger character, a very exuberant personality and stuff. So he doesn't. I get why they're saying that, because quite frankly, the Ghost of Christmas Present is modeled after classic Victorian Santa Clauses. So I see why they're saying that, but it doesn't read that way to me.
The one thing I would say too, I was definitely in the camp that was telling Cullen and other people that I didn't need a blue Hagnon, mostly because you were only going to see the blue when the
Yeah.
lights were off. Now you guys have changed that to where it kind of has a blue tint even
Yeah.
when it's not off. So that's pretty cool. The other thing I would say to folks that, you know, feel like they might not need a second Hagnon is just look what Jeremy did with that Jacob Marley figure. Like that head, if you are a painter, if you're a customizer, painting that head, it really makes it pop. And all of a sudden you can make that into like this zombie emaciated look to it. It's really cool when, you know, it's, I mean, it's cool clear anyway,
Yeah.
but if you put some paint on it, man, that thing's fabulous.
You know, what's funny about the blue Hagnon is, and people are asking about Halfnon. There's an article on the website all about Halfnon, the miscommunication at the factory where they did them literally. When we say, can you do him half blue, half green? We meant half the run glow blue, half, and they literally thought we wanted him split down the middle, blue and green. It's a great figure. It's high, so I can't go grab it. But
if only Greg was there.
interesting note, that blue Hagnon that Trevor took photos of, that is actually a factory sample that's been here on a shelf for, I don't know, 5-6 years or whatever. When we were figuring out, or they at the time, was before I joined the company, when they were figuring out the Hagnon color, the factory sent the studio a number of examples of different possible colors to consider. So there was one that was injected with a semi-transparent green. There's one that's a semi-transparent blue. There's the one that we selected is a lightish blue. There was even one that's a darker blue that looks very much like a Jolly Rancher candy. So that particular figure has literally been sitting here forever. We only have one of those because it is actually what the factory sent us all that time ago. So when we decided to do Blue Hagnon, it was important to not just do a reissue of Hagnon that glows blue. We wanted something that very clearly was blue. And I like it too, because to me, it can totally work as an ice skeleton. So if you want to do, you know, you do a little bit of white dry brushing on that, and it's going to start to read as like icy with some just like, you know, crackly snow bits on it and stuff like that. It will totally transform that transparent ghostly blue into more of an icy blue that you can do some cool like characters with that as well.
Well, yeah, I'm even thinking like if you don't use the Hagnon, like the bone, upper arms and legs, but you put that armor on like somebody else's body. I mean, that's going to be really cool to just put some ice armor on somebody.
Yeah. And I did, so using the bone parts, I did that years ago where I did a tribute custom to the Cold Miser from Year Without a Santa Claus. And I took a Hagnon and I did like a wash, a super watered down wash of a light blue just to kind of tint it, but still have that transparency. So it read more like ice. And that's exactly what you could do now that you have this.
Yeah.
So I got Santa here. Not sure if there's anything else. I'll be right back. I'm going to see if there's anything else fun to show.
All right. I got to read this one from Dorklayer because it made me giggle. Blue Hagnon and green Hagnon were once a single entity that were split into two in a great catastrophe. One day they will be recombined to form Hagnonagon, aka Halfnon. I thought that was pretty good. Joe says it'd be enchanted armor. Yeah, I could see that. Like ice armor, enchanted armor. Using that is going to be cool. Plus, I saw the Eric Miller took the Hagnon armor and did that vision with it, where he kind of dyed part of it or used an ink or something, so it kind of faded into it and it looked like it was disappearing. That was really cool. Dave Orkin, does this mean we're going to get a Scareglow Motu figure? Hey, you never know what kind of debut Power-Con debut figures they do. They got a lot of cool parts coming out for sure. All right, what you got there? Oh boy. Wow.
That's cool, right?
That's
So
interesting.
this is a new Headless Horseman with. I just have the original cape on him because you had asked me to put that on. But that's the tuberculi head that's actually on it.
That's cool.
That's kind of neat, right?
Yeah. I didn't know that. Maybe I missed it. The tuberculized jaw is articulated.
Yeah, both of them are.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Somehow I missed that.
Both of the heads have articulated jaws.
Man, now I don't think I ordered enough.
Yeah, I mean that head on different bodies is very, very cool. That's a 1.0 head. So
Yeah.
just putting that on a body is going to be, I'll put it on this night body right here.
Joe said it looks like a cult leader.
It is a prototype, so I do have to be a little careful with it.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, people are going to have a lot of fun with tuberculi, I will tell you.
I wouldn't be surprised if you got some customizers out there that bought some just to take apart completely and start using all the parts.
Oh, yeah. I think so many people focus so much on the maxillius in that bear skeleton, which is a great figure. But for me, pound for pound, the amount of bone parts you get in different kinds of bone parts that you get in the tuberculi, that was really cool. Can the jaw open enough to slip ahead and slide? I don't know because this is a prototype. So the jaw is totally a separate piece. It's not pegged in there the way the final production one will. So I don't know how much clearance we'll get on the final one to see if you could actually get a head in there. If you're asking if you could like modify a head to go in there, was it Kurgan from, is that like the character from Highlander has like a bone head or something?
Oh, yeah.
If you were a chop and swap customizer, you could probably make it work. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you could take that head apart and use the top portion as a helmet or something.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, the jaw will come off the way that, like the malleus jaw and everything comes off. So you totally will be able to display it that way as well, should you choose. So another thing that we had lying back there that's worth mentioning is not Mythic Legions, but it's actually from Chris's Biblical Adventures Kickstarter. So that Kickstarter went live yesterday. I actually have a banner here. I'll bring it up. So if you know about this, I'm going to have Chris on my show in a few weeks to talk about his Biblical Adventures Kickstarter, variety of different types of characters that are based on Bible stories and characters, as well as, it's largely based on specific pieces of art. They kind of remind me, have you ever heard, Curtis, of the Figma Museum toys?
No, I have not.
So they're kind of expensive, but they're based on famous pieces of art, but they're articulated. So like the Thinker and the Vitruvian Man and everything, they're figures of that, but they're totally posable and everything. So they're really kind of neat. It almost reminds me of that type stuff because it's based on specific pieces of artwork, but they're actually articulated. So that's kind of a neat thing. These are definitely smaller than Legions. This is next to that Legion's elf. So, if you want to get the angels to be giant warrior archangels, probably not going to read that way. The two demons,
they're not really completely off, though. I mean, like,
no, they're not like 4-inch.
Yeah.
This is
I can see you. I mean, if you're one of the kind of people that's a line mixer, I can see you mixing a few of these in, and it doesn't look completely out of place. That's for sure.
No, not at all. And I mean, look, Chris would be the first one to tell you that his line is not for everybody. They're being presented in a very respectful way. They're not, they're not meant to be poking fun at anything or anyone. They are genuinely pieces of artwork that he found inspiring and beautiful, that he was like, these would be really cool figures. They're all not going to be for everybody, but there are some cool ones in there. This one is my favorite. This statue of the Archangel Michael is the one that I really love. I love that like paint patina that's on it. I think it just looks like a cool figure that I can mix in with some other stuff or just have on display and look cool.
It reminds me, I know you did I think it was a little episode, maybe been a full episode a while back, where you did some gargoyles and stuff.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of the paint style that you did for those.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the thing with this line that has been interesting for me is seeing how genuine and excited and just how passionate Chris is for this.
Yeah.
I mean, we know, we watch the four Horsemen o'clock and we see some of the specials, and Chris can be a character. But when you see him talk about this line, you can see how important it is to him. It's definitely not something that he's playing around or anything like that. He's very serious and passionate about it. I saw a live stream that he was doing on Instagram the other day.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool to see how this has come, to fruition for him. And, 2 days in, I got right now, looks like the goal is 80,000. He's at 33.7. So doing well. But yeah, if you're out there and you're thinking about jumping in, early is the time to do it, because then you can, unlock the other things and get extra stuff. He's got a lot of cool stuff that's currently locked that once we get there, I think people are really going to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, even look, we're talking to Mythic fans on the show tonight, of course. This angel that I'm showing here, this statue, the demon that's there, those are things that I think would mix in really, really well. Those blank bodies, I think, are really cool at $15 a piece. There's definitely some cool stuff that I think will look great on your shelf and in your collection. And as you said, it's supporting someone who's a great guy, a member of this company in this community, who's trying to do something new and different. It's funny, when Chris first told me that he was doing a line of Bible figures, knowing Chris, I thought he was doing like SWAT Team Jesus and like Ninja Jesus. And I should know Chris is never going to do what you expect.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he explained his idea and how straight he was playing it, the fact that these were going to be presented in a very respectful way, they're based on iconic pieces of artwork. Like, he explained it to me and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's cool. And that's different. I like the fact that he's doing that. So very, very cool. That's Biblical Adventures. Again, I'll bring that banner up for Chris. As you mentioned, he's
I would say, like, just to add real quick, Chris had mentioned this the other day. Even if this is not your thing, because this isn't going to be for everybody, share it. If you can just share this Kickstarter, it may reach somebody that this is their thing, and they may really enjoy it. So that's, if you're interested, definitely jump in early. If you're not, just share it, because Chris is a good dude and this is a good line, and we definitely want to try to support him in this community.
Yeah, it's important. It is part of being, I think, a community is supporting the ideas and the things that people are doing. Basic figures, $24. A figure like the angel here is 30. Throw in $30 at a Kickstarter to give someone who's a very cool member of this community, who brings you the toys that you love through Legions. That's super cool. And I mean, it is true too. These are being, these were a lot of members of the studio worked on these figures. These are as close to, I would say, Horseman figures as you can get without them being actual Horseman figures. A lot of people in the studio worked, a lot of people outside of the studio Chris worked with. They're being made at the same factory that makes the Legion stuff. So that's cool as well. And it gives you an idea of the kind of quality you're going to be able to expect.
Well, and anybody that likes that blue Hagnon, there's also a Jesus that's a translucent blue that he's got for the Kickstarter. That's
Eric,
if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool.
Release. Yeah, Eric, that is the Kickstarter exclusive, the blue Transfiguration Jesus. It is serious. I mean, if you want to look at it with a little bit of humor, yeah, okay, it's Force Ghost Jesus. You can totally call it Force Ghost Jesus. It's not really meant that way. One of the things I love, I don't know if people saw, but that particular figure is not going to be boxed in like the Bible box. It's going to be bagged and it's going to come in a little white mailer box, kind of replicating the old mail away figures from years and years ago. And again, something like that, it's not a part of the main wave. It's a Kickstarter only exclusive, but yeah, it is. The blue one is no joke. It is. I know a lot of people were like, oh, he can hang out with Blue Hagnon. People were asking if the blue Jesus is actually all blue or just head and hands. No, it's all, the whole body is translucent blue.
And you were mentioning the blanks before for $15. I know, I've been one of them, the people that have said, hey, we need like villagers and different things.
People say that.
If you're a customizer and you want some villagers, $15 for a buck that you can do whatever you want with, it's pretty good. So
and all those people that asked for double joints and everything, these are double jointed figures.
There you go.
Yeah. That's the one thing I will say, and I told Chris this right up front. Some of the soft goods in the prototype photos don't look as good as the end product's going to look. Mm-hmm. And it's because the bodies on the prototypes, they're not articulated. They're print. They look like they have articulation, so you can see where they would be, but they're printed as one solid piece to make it easier to paint and everything. So because of that, there are certain very subtle movements that you would do with an articulated figure to make the soft goods like fall a certain way that you can't do with the unarticulated piece. So the actual soft goods that eventually come out, the cuts are going to be a little tighter. See Jessam worked on the soft goods. So it's not like these were, things he cut out of a t-shirt and slapped on here and said, hey, that's it. That the end result is going to be really top notch.
That's really cool.
Okay. So I'm going to bring this off screen here. We got about 10 minutes left. What else is going on? What else are you buzzing about that you're excited about?
You kind of mentioned at the beginning of the show the sale this past weekend. I'm surprised that the Praetorian Uit figure's still out there.
Yeah,
you got those cloth arms and legs, and I thought that it was going to be the first one gone. So the fact that that's still out there really surprises me.
Do not underestimate the allure of the top G. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Bouchard came. He came. He saw. He kicked some butt.
Yeah. Well, and the other part, not only the cloth upper arms and legs that Praetorian figure has, but the pauldrons. Those are some of my favorite pauldrons you guys have done. Those like it's the Vorthog ones. Yeah. Those things are just they're amazing.
Those fabric arms and legs. I did a custom recently using is it the General, the head that Emil did with the hat? And I used that to make a Major Blood tribute from G.I. Joe.
That's
and
cool.
I took some of those fabric arms and legs and I painted them brown and they look great. Mm-hmm. I love them. Like any color you paint those, they look so cool.
Well, I'm actually in the middle of doing a custom now that I'm painting those cloth arms and legs. And I think the ones I'm doing are from a Valak, but the texture on that, and I've seen a couple of people say this in the Cabal, the texture on those arms and legs, if you throw a color on there and then do a dry brush over top of it, man, that fabric just pops. It is like so detailed in there. So,
so as a customizer, as someone that paints a lot of 3D parts, I'm sure you would agree with this statement that you've painted parts from a lot of different sculptors, right?
Yep.
There are some sculptors that just get how to make parts. The level of detail, the cut depth that they put in some of these things, like your paintbrush hits it, and I hate to say it, it almost like the part just works with you so much. It works with you so much to make this beautiful end result. And there are other parts from other sculptors that they look great, but for something about the details, you have to work so much harder to get that same end result. There is no one better at that than Eric Treadaway. So those sculptural pieces, those body parts and stuff there, you get a brush on that and it just, they look so good.
Well, and one other thing with that figure, Joe in the chat mentions you also get an extra set of feet and ankle joints. Like that's huge,
Yeah.
I mean, have especially if you've got, another figure that has, hooves or something like that, and you want to switch it out, and yeah, having those extra parts is awesome as well. But to what you were saying, you're right, because I've said in the past, like a good sculptor can make a painter look better, but
Oh,
then
yeah.
also a good painter can make a sculpt look better. Like it's a
Yep.
symbiotic relationship for sure.
100%, yeah.
But yeah, it's great when you get a part that you just, especially when you're dry brushing and it just hits it a certain way and you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that pops.
Yep.
So
I notice it a lot of times.
I got my LBC
Oh, there you go.
in dry brushing we trust.
We trust. I don't love painting realistic faces. I've said that many, many times, but I find the mark of a great sculptor is the eyes. There are some eyes that are just, I have a certain process I use for eyes, and there are some that just the way the details are cut in, the brush just catches it exactly where it needs to, and it doesn't trail outside of where you need to paint. And there's others that it's so much of a struggle, and you've got to clean up all the lines after you're done because the brush just won't stay where it needs to stay. So that's also another one that I really find is the mark of a great sculpture.
Well, and this is no offense to anybody when I say this, but I can tell a difference from sculptors that paint and sculptors that don't. The sculptors that they also paint parts, like it's like they get it. Like they know, hey, my brush is going to catch us in a certain way and I need to add these certain details and stuff like that. So
I agree with you completely. I've said that before. That is 100% right. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of great stuff coming up. This obviously to recap, ZoloCon this coming weekend. This is the Saturday, so that would be what, the 25th and 26th. Is that it? I believe it is, right?
Yeah.
23rd, 24th. Yeah, 25th and 26th. That is ZoloCon. That is in Warminster, Pennsylvania. Number of us are going to be there. I'm going to be there. If you are coming out to ZoloCon, please come up, say hi to all of us. We are all very, very friendly people, and we will be thrilled to spend a few minutes talking to you about Legions or whatever else. You are going to be at MuskegonCon. That is March 11th.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that is in Muskegon, Michigan.
Yep, it's a one-day show on Saturday, but I'm sure that the excitement will last long after the show's over.
I'm sure there's going to be some partying going on.
Yeah.
Again, you can check that out at for sourcehorseman.com/events. Other stuff going on, the figures that are available on Store Horseman right now, we will be pulling those down at some point. So if you've been waiting, don't wait too much longer. Get those in. Additionally, next Wednesday, March 1st, that is actually when the retailer appreciation wave goes live. So that is the Headless Horseman figure that we were talking about, the Father Christmas, Blue Hagnon, in that new Elf Elite figure. Lee J is the name of the figure. Those will all be available exclusively from the retailers. Now, one thing I will point out, a number of people have said, oh, this is a pre-order, I don't have to worry about it selling out. Yes and no. It is a pre-order, so it's not like there's a set amount already established, but retailers need to get their orders into us by March 31st. Our goal with this particular wave is we want to go into production fast because we would really love to get these in fans' hands before the end of this year. There's no new tooling in this. It's all done. So we want to get this stuff out fast the way we did with All-Stars 5. To do that, the retailers have to get the orders into us, which means after March 31st, they're going to already have placed their orders. So whatever's left on their website is probably going to be a fixed amount. Gotcha. That means that you will start seeing after that March 31st, some of these items start to sell out. So don't wait too long. pick your favorite retailer, sourcehorseman.com/retailers. That will be a list of our retailer partners so you can place your order.
So get in early.
Get in early. Get those orders placed from your retailer. A lot of retailers don't actually require payment up front. Everyone is different. I've had a number of people reach out to me and say, hey, will this retailer carry it? Will this retailer carry them? That's not a question for me. That's a question for them. It is open to all of our retailers. All of our retailers are allowed to buy this wave, to pre-order this wave. So whether or not they choose to carry it is their decision, not ours. So check with them if they are going to be holding them.
Awesome.
That's about all I've got tonight, Curtis. Thank you very much for joining me this weekend live here from Four Horsemen Studios. Look at this.
See the big Kurzog behind you.
The big Kurzog right over my shoulder there. Yeah. He'll be coming out soon. I have a feeling that he's going to have some company at Legions Con this year. So if you're wondering who's going to be joining Kurzog, who's going to be the surprise this year, you'll have to come out and see for yourself.
Nice.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hope to see you at ZoloCon this weekend, and I will be back on Mythic Conversations next week. Talk to you then.